Those of you who use Photoshop to make your comic book pages know how useful it can be to color them in. But did you also know that Photoshop can be used to change a line's color? Hi, I'm Tim Larsen. I've been working on comic book art for the last 18 years. Right now, I want to share with you my technique for changing a black line into a line of any color you choose using layer masks. Before we get into that, make sure to check out my fast-paced, action-packed comic called Mayfield 8, now on its sixth and final chapter. Mayfield 8 is an account of the harrowing, deadly journey of a young 17-year-old fry cook named Calvin Ryder. On the eve of his birthday, his friend offers him a free invitation to celebrate in a Mexican titty bar down south. All Calvin has to do is stand watch while his friend conducts a drug deal along the way. As you can expect, things go bad for him very quickly. The question of whether he survives his next few days remains unanswered until the very end. Parts 5 and 6 can be pre-ordered on my site, shop.timsnotebook.com. There you can pick up parts 1 and 4 and browse over the half-dozen other fantastic comics I've worked on. Let's begin with today's tutorial, making a black line into a colored line in Photoshop. My screen grab walkthrough will show you everything you need to know. I think it's useful if I first show you a finished page and then I'll take a few steps back and reconstruct it to show you how I created this. What am I talking about with colored lines? So let me show you this layout here. We have all this stuff going on with the color, the black lines, but if you notice there's like in the man's sunglasses, his eyes are different, and of course all this stuff, the fire is different, and you notice it's a different color too. Like we have orange lines here, and I have a dark blue line there, and if I go down and look at more sunglasses, sure enough there's the blue line, and all that stuff exists on its own layer in Photoshop. So we'll pull back and so we have the layers here. We have the color. So let's unclick all the color lines, or color patches, I should say. Okay, and then we have the black lines. And now we just have remaining, we have the colored lines. And depending on what you want to do, you can make these lines any color you'd like, the way I have it set up. There's other methods in Photoshop to set up line work to have a color using color overlay, but that's somewhat difficult to work with. What that means is that you can only get to use one color for the overlay. So that would mean you would have to have a new layer for every single color you want. The way I do it here, you can have any color you want on the same layer. As you can see how I'm I'm going in and painting and changing the color as I see fit. So what I'm going to focus on right now is how you make this layer. Just the black line layer now, no colored line, and I'll show you how to fairly easy go in and cut apart all the pieces here. So the first process would be to choose your magic wand tool. In the way that I draw my panels, they have very clear, distinct lines around each one of them. So you click anywhere, as long as you have this style of artwork, you click anywhere outside into the gutter area, okay? And let's include these smaller ones too. Hold down the Shift key. There we go. And we want to move this a little more so that we're on the other side. We expand our selection. In my case, you go to Select, Modify, Expand, and I believe for the sake of my comic book it would be 12 pixels. Let's see what happens here. No, that's too much, excuse me. Select, Modify, Expand. Let's try 7 pixels. There you go, that's not too bad. That's pretty good. You can see I've expanded the selection. Now I'm just on the barely inside of the comic book page. Okay, now you want to select the inverse. And you might ask yourself, well, what does that do when you select the inverse? We'll go into Quick Mask and I'll show you. Okay, now I've changed this to, I made my selection the insides of the panels and no longer the gutters. Okay, that's clear enough. All right, and now what I would do is to go in and choose a paintbrush tool and set it at 100% opacity. And in Quick Mask mode, you're working just with black and white. So I want to, in this panel, to get that effect I showed you, to select just the areas that have the lines that are going to become color. And by doing that, we go around, excluding the lines that stay black and white. You can see what I'm doing here. I'm kind of imagining the this big hunkin' section right here is going to become my colored lines. Let's just keep on going here. The truck is going to stay. And the railroad sign is going to stay. You notice I'm not worried about staying close to the line. I'm more worried about just getting those tiny bits of line that I know are not going to be black. Okay. And let's see. Oops, that's a mistake. I made a mistake here. Okay. No, that's actually part of the railroad sign. Okay, there we go. All right. It's important to finish. Basically, you think about you're starting on the edge of the gutter and then you finish on the edge of the gutter. You can see how I went from the start and it was an unbroken line. It goes all the way to the end here. Let's and the sign is not going to be in the color layer. Okay. Now, clicking on the gutter like I did, and then selecting the inverse, all that stuff, is a quick, useful way if you have a lot of material in a panel like this that is going to end up being colored lines that extends off to the edge of the panel, to the outside. Otherwise, you could skip that step and use a lasso tool. Like, let's say on this whole page, all I had was this man in his sunglasses. Well, I would be in regular mode, not in quick mask mode. You know, regular mode is without this amber colored stuff. And I would just simply get the lasso tool and just lasso roughly his eyes there, and then go to quick mask and make that detail a little bit more focused. As it is right now, I'm in quick mask, so let me take care of his glasses too. Okay. And like so. Let's go over here, nothing there. No. And then a few more eyeglasses things. Okay. And just the stuff inside, not the frames of the glasses. Of course, you can do your comic book any way you want, but there it is for me. Now, if I did this right, I'll be able to get the magic wand tool out and then select. In my Photoshop, it has this icon here, and sometimes if you hit caps lock, you get the crosshairs, and I'm not sure if that shows up on your screen, but crosshairs are useful for really getting in exactly where you want to click. It's a good tip there. And either you can change the method of selection to include, add to, or you can also choose subtract to and intersect. You can change it to add to selection and do it that way. Otherwise, just simply hold down the shift key. That works as well. There we go. Okay, let's pull all the way back now. Now, you could take this step by step and just save what you have. Let's just go select inverse, fill with black, and you can hit deselect to get rid of the marching ants, although it doesn't really matter. I'll just go ahead and do that for clarity's sake. Now I filled in everything that is not going to become a colored line. You know, it's going to be a regular line. Let's say I made a mistake and I went, oh no, I want to include my guy's eyes here. So you just go to white, and then you just, you know, throw stuff in there. Another little detail here is, notice how it got a little bit too much right here. I want to get into brush mode and choose white, and you know, maybe go in and fix that up a little bit. Okay, so that it's a quick Photoshop trick is to, as long as you don't change the brush size, you can start here, way over here, hold down the shift key, boom. Maybe I did too much. I'll just do it again, but in black here and put some back. There we go. if you hold down the shift key while moving the brush, it doesn't, it stays, oops. It stays going either back and forth, left and right, or up or down in a rigid sense when you hold down the shift key while moving the brush tip. Okay, that's not too bad. That's pretty good. If you've done a couple of panels, a couple of pages, you start getting a sixth sense about this, how much you should leave in, etc. But okay, for the sake of showing you how to do this, I think that's good enough. Now, you go out of quick mask mode, and I'm on the layer with the black lines. And oh, here's one I forgot. Here we go. I forgot. That was the, there we go. These patches of black are going to become part of the railroad signs lens on the inside, and the lens is going to be red. Okay. Alright, now I'm ready. So let's get out of quick mask mode. And I'm going to now create a new layer via cut, and you can choose the magic wand and right click that. Layer via cut. And what I did with that is now I just have all the stuff that's going to have colored line. And there's all the stuff that's remaining that didn't have black line. And what I like to do is I like to fill that in before anything else. So I'll create a new layer underneath it. Go to pure white and the paint bucket. Fill that layer underneath and then merge down. That's Control E. Okay. And then do the same thing with the colored layer. I create a new layer underneath, paint bucket tool, and then merge down, Control E. Now, with regards to this layer that I'm going to change the color of black lines to any color I want, what I'm going to do is create a layer mask, and the layer mask is going to cover up anything that's not black. And the way you do that, I find, is this method that works out really good. You go to the select tool, select color range, and in this version of Photoshop we have different things we can select. You want to select the highlights. Okay? We selected the highlights, and we crank the range and the fuzziness all the way up to the maximum. Okay? And then we go ahead and invert. Hit OK. Let me zoom in and I'll show you what I did now. I've now selected all the black by doing that invert thing at the last minute. I was telling Photoshop I want to select the white, but then I do an inversion at the last second and select the black. I find that method keeps the sharpness of the lines and keeps the detail intact the best. Now, here's a part that you're going to be horror-stricken over. I go right ahead and just delete this layer, or I'll create a new layer first, okay? Alright. And let's just close off that layer for a minute. So I'm on a new layer, alright? Bear with me. Okay, see, I got this whole marching ants and everything. And then I hit that little icon that says create or add layer mask, okay? Boom. Now this layer has a layer mask, and let me go out of the mask mode and click the thumbnail so that I'm still operating on the thumbnail. And just to give myself a baseline, I go ahead and recolor it in with black, just to have something. Well, now I brought it all back, okay? And then that layer I had before, this one, go ahead and delete it. So then we have the lines, the black lines. Switch the mode from normal to multiply because I want the color to show up underneath it. Okay. And then we have the colored line layer. Let's maybe move that down beneath the black line layer. Now I'm going to show you what happens when you set up this layer like that. It looks the same, but I'm in the layer mask that's a colored line, and let's just pick a nice deep red and go right ahead, and with my paintbrush set at 100%, I'll start coloring this in red. The imaginary scene that my hero is visualizing of something that happened way back when in the 1950s, of the train wreck with the motorcycle. Then we'll go up here, and here's the guy's sunglasses. We'll pick a deep blue. I don't know if that showed up really well, but okay. And that pretty much is it. That's how you do it. And you know the basics of Photoshop, how to collapse, merge all these down when you're ready to send this off to the printer. Like I'll include all the other layers of color here. And in this layer mask mode, let's say that I thought that red was a little too harsh. Or maybe there's parts there I want to do bright yellow. Okay. And here's the magic. You can go ahead and pick out stuff in there that is a different color. This is where just making it all one big freaking mask is better than adding a layer style like color overlay, because color overlay only lets you pick one color, and it sucks up a lot of memory in your Photoshop document. So you sometimes you can have issues of running out of memory, or it can become sluggish or kind of laggy. Okay. Also, let's see here. Let me show you another thing. All right. There we go. Let's say you had a very, very dark color, or even black. I got black here, okay? And then in the layer mask line, you had something where you want it to be white lines. That's something you could do, you know, if you needed them to be a white color, that'd be one way to do it, create a layer mask. And to finish up here, this layer mask is creating this ability to have colored lines. Let's shut the layer mask off. You see, that's really what I have underneath the mask. Just in case I forgot to color something, you know, and so it doesn't disappear entirely off the page, it's always good to, you know, just at least start out with black, okay? But then going in and going in and coloring in the patches as you see fit will make for a really cool looking page. And yeah, so it's a really cool method. Well, great. I hope that was useful for those of you out there who want to elevate their comic book art game. Think of all the things you can be inking in the future that potentially could get the colored line treatment. Flames, water, laser beams, ice, you name it. My name's Tim Larsen. Thanks again for watching. Always keep working on your comic book creations. You only get better if you keep at it.